Okay. Good morning. I'm here with Randy Kadich, who is a member of the South Greensburg Fire Department, and Daniel Durso, who's a former member of the South Greensburg Fire Department and the current captain at the Trafford Fire Department. We good? Okay. We did a couple new things this morning. I wanted to make sure that everything was working. So today we're going to talk about, our main topic is going to be mergers and consolidation, whether it be resources or companies, departments. And of course, this is a touchy subject. Nobody wants to sit down and talk about it. So we're going to touch into that. A couple things from the previous two. Last week we had Bill Wright from Southwest Greensburg on, and Zach Lavelle from Harrison City, and they talked about Mayday situations that they were in, and we got a lot of good feedback from that. That actually, people have sent me SOPs from paid departments, larger paid departments, and even local departments, to help with those things. So, and I've been going through it, and maybe we'll touch on it again, and it'll be another thing where, we can meet with our neighbor and discuss this and decide what we're going to do as far as Mayday protocols, accountability, things like that. Because we have to all do it the same. You can't have, South Greensburg can't really do it different than Southwest. We have to have the same idea, whether it comes from both departments or wherever. We have to do it the same way. If we're doing accountability, right, we can't do it different than really Southwest does, because it would make no sense, because we work with them together. And I'm just using those two companies as an example. I'm not just calling those two companies out. But we can't have, even for that matter, Harrison City and Penn, or Trafford, and you work with Level Green, right?
Right.
You can't have them doing it different. We have to do it the same. So I'll go through some of that stuff, and maybe we'll get back on that. And anybody wants some information, they can reach out. And then the very first one we did was with Tom Bell from Greensburg and Billy Wright from we had two different names there. Billy Wright from Southwest, and we talked about recruiting and things, and that's still an ongoing thing. And I hope some of these conversations are getting started outside of here, and we're doing them here until we have something figured out, and we talk about them with our neighbors and do those things. So we're doing better at what we weren't doing. Also, we weren't doing this right. Here in South Greensburg, we weren't either doing it right. We were just kind of talking about it in the firehouse. Well, that doesn't help us. It's not helping, across the area here, if we're not speaking to, the guys on the hill and over that way, because we have to work with them together. And that's part of this, leading into this merger part. We have to sit down and talk to our neighboring departments about what we're doing. Now, so mergers become sticky. Why? Well, and few people said it, and I think you said it. Nobody wants to give up their kingdom, and that's right. I mean, there's no falsehood about that. Nobody wants to give up their own place, but unfortunately, public safety seems to take a back seat to some of that a lot of times. And we're not going to talk about our area. We're talking about our area, and this isn't just happening in our general area. It's happening in county-wide, it's happening statewide, and it's probably happening nationwide. I mean, there's places out there that are just, and unfortunately, just to speak in Westmoreland County, for example, in our general area, most of Westmoreland County, you don't go very far and there's not a fire department, right? I mean, you drive down the street and there's a fire station. And each fire station anymore has the same thing. You know, back when I was younger, um, when I was younger, like Greensburg ran car crashes all the way up the mountain, up on 30. You know, Greensburg 7 would go, and 3 would run out to the turnpike, say, or 7 or 1 or wherever. But because not a lot of people had a hearse toll. You know, that was the big name back then. And, you know, South Greensburg's had a hearse toll a long time. I know Youngwood's had tolls a long time. But their companies around us didn't have tolls. You know, they were a fire company, and these guys were the rescue company.
Wasn't affordable, yeah.
And yeah, nobody could afford it, and none of that. But now, even in this station here, we have 2 trucks with a full complement of hydraulic rescue tools on them. How many wrecks with entrapment do we run? Now, once this new truck arrives, it'll be consolidated, and that's just consolidation. We're going to cut it down. There's not going to be rescue tools on it. It's going to be an engine. And then the other one, you know, the next one is going to be a rescue. So, you know, you have a department here, just to get this started. So you have Department A, we'll call it, okay? It has, and I put this on the other day, but you have, say, the average 7 guys a call, okay? Then you have Department B and C over here, and they average 1, 2 guys a call. And you know, today, you hear it all day long, driver only, driver only, driver only. Why not make that one thing? And you're not talking about, you're not increasing response times. And in some cases, when you're waiting on fill companies, you're actually decreasing the response time.
Right.
Because instead of waiting at, you know, whatever the protocol is, you know, I don't know how it was, 7, 10 minutes, whatever it is, for a fill company to be put in, you're wasting that time.
Right.
Right. And I think because of our own egos and being in our own way, we let public safety take a back seat to what has to happen.
Absolutely.
This has to happen. There's no other way. The only, you know, there's other ways. I mean, you make a full paid department. I don't know that any area right now that's feasible. Okay, I just don't know that you can take the whole area and make it a whole paid department in certain places. Now you know, combination departments.
There's definitely areas.
There could be.
Specifically to us, could absolutely 100% be a paid staff department.
But you have all these fire departments around. We have to get something in one place. And it's not, we're not talking about stretching out areas where you're going 13, 14 miles to an alarm. I mean, most of our alarms are within a mile. Right?
Same with us.
I mean, we get stretched out a little bit, you know, when we get out into the township or whatever, or some places that are more distant out there. But we, most of our calls are just down the block, you know, across the street or wherever. But in the same thing that I got, you know, we passed 3 departments going to 1 call.
Absolutely, yeah. That's I think that's the tragedy of it too. Like Matt was saying, this is the conversation we have pretty regularly right here in the firehouse, right at this table, without a camera on. And I think that needs to happen more often. It's not.
Yeah, well, you know, other than, you know, maybe hurting egos or something like that, I don't see, you know, I only see, especially from the community you serve, a benefit from this and coming together and working together. And furthermore, you know, if you don't want to give up your kingdom to do a merge, fine, but like that doesn't mean that you still can't work together or do something together to help each other. But at the end of the day, that's completely true that like something has to be done, because it's not fair just because of how people feel for your community that you serve to suffer.
Well, it comes down, we say ego, it really comes down to hurt feelings, right?
Right.
We're all grown here. At least you hope that the people around you are grown.
Are we?
Try to be.
It begs to differ. I mean, I think most of us come from a time where was prideful to be the first due, right? And you know, when you get a station that's still prideful, that's for being first due and knowing it's doing, and then you have a department that may not necessarily be first due or second due or third due to their own first due, but they still should be prideful. Now, I understand these departments have one or two guys where you're getting so mad you're smashing the steering wheel because somebody else beat you to your call. There's a problem. I mean, that's a problem specifically that you need to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, what can we do to be better? Right now, we're lucky. We're blessed in the fact that we're on a high. Right? We all understand that high can come low real quick.
Yeah, it's not good. We're just a few people away.
And look specifically to the area, but I can tell you, I'm pretty versed with even different parts of the country. And this is not just a problem here. I mean, this is, like Matt said at the beginning, it's a problem everywhere. And you want to get hurt feelings over this or that. Well, you need to start digging deep and sitting at your own kitchen table and having this conversation with your own people and figuring out the solution.
So, and I'll speak for myself and my feelings on those type of things where, and it happens. It's happened more than once. We are not always first due in our own area.
Just happened the other day.
And I'll just speak, it was been about almost a year now since the Knights Inn burned down here. Greensburg 8 beat us there. Okay, thanks. We got an engineer, got water on it pretty quick, very quick. My feelings were not hurt at all, believe me.
Why would it be? Get the job done, right?
You know, thank you for getting there so quick.
Right.
Especially because my main concern when something like that comes in, and so, believe me, I'd rather respond to calls in somebody else's area all day long.
Right.
Okay. When something comes in town here, a fire or reckless entrapment or, you know, whatever it is, you know, that, and it should be your own area takes more of a precedent than, you know, I'm not saying that, if something comes into Hempfield Township, I'm not commenting and I don't take the same care. I'm just saying when it comes in South Greensburg Borough, I'm the chief of South Greensburg. It's my responsibility what happens here, basically. So, you know, Southwest beats us here. I think, and we beat them to a couple of air calls here and there. Or Billy gets on scene here. He had one down here. It was last year, wherever. And just take care of it. You know, just because you're a chief, you know what you're doing. You know, you're a captain, whatever it is. You know if there's a fire or we need more help or whatever it is, at least until somebody else gets there.
I think that's a conversation in itself there, though.
Well, of course,
yeah.
But you know, doing with the merger stuff, if we can't get past those little things, we'll never get anywhere when we talk about these mergers.
Oh.
And I know townships are talking about it. I know, other departments are talking about it. I've talked about it. Us in Southwest have discussed it. Is it the right time currently right now? I don't know. Some say yes, some say no. Is it coming? Probably. And not only in the fire service.
Everything.
Public safety as a whole, police, EMS. EMS is different around here, but we don't have fire department EMSs. But we have to at least start discussing it with our neighbors. And frankly, some aren't even open to conversation about it.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the statistics on that. When you talk about recruiting and retention, when it comes to getting people into your department, so you don't have to merge, right? As long as you have the people, the resources, the money to continue, why not continue?
Right.
And then, so you look at the stats on that. I'm a bit of a numbers guy because I like numbers, but 50% of all volunteer firemen are between the ages of 30 and 49, right? So you have a low increase on the bottom side, a sharp decrease on the other side, right? It's just an aging area, right? Once you get to 50, I don't want to be going in. I'm not going to be the same guy I was at 18 either. You know what I mean?
No.
Absolutely. And then it goes off the whole thing. And you get some departments, me and Matt had this conversation many times. I love it. You get some departments, they call in engine 32 in with 8. Well, 8 what? What are we calling in 8 with? What is that 8? You got an engineer, an officer, a couple guys in the back, but what are they? What's the hazard we're going to? What are we trying to mitigate? And are they qualified to mitigate that hazard? Right? So you want to beat your chest and say, oh, like we even do here. I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, like we average 7 guys, a little over 7 guys a call, right? Right?
Yep.
But not all those 7 guys can do everything.
Yeah, we have 3 mass man, a mayor,
Right.
and
Our mayor gets it though.
yeah,
He
he
fights
was,
the fire.
he was over there. 3 mass men, a mayor, and an engineer and whatnot. Right, you're right about that
So
too.
you start calling, but when we're talking about mergers, right? You could be calling in with 5 every time. But if we got 5 guys in their 80s, what are we really calling in with? And then you really got to take a reflection there on yourself, right? And it's really hard to look in the mirror when are you providing the protection you promised. Remember, you promised that as the fire department to your area. And I think a lot of people forget that promise. You think you just sign up, get a cool helmet, and mine's shiny white, or mine's shiny green, or whatever color you want to be, right? The responsibility that comes along with that, and that's your promise to your community that you're going to be there to help.
He was picking on my helmet color.
Yeah.
But Matt, something you said, I think is so true, is that nobody or not a whole lot of people want to speak on this and want to have this, conversation and bring it up when, it needs to happen. And I mean, like I said before, it can only benefit us and it can only help us. And also, I think if more people have this conversation together and talk together about it, they'll find, that they have the same ideas, the same thoughts about it. And, by doing that, you find, hey, we kind of think alike, maybe we can work something out, between us and things can get better with us.
So what are we talking? I mean, when we're looking at, and I know people want to say stuff, just say it. What are we talking about when we're looking to merge departments? I mean, what are we looking for? Who gets to, and of course, everybody wants to be the one standing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you definitely want to be the last guy.
Us too. But everybody wants to be the one station that's standing. And, what do you look at when you decide, when you go to your neighbor, you say, okay, hey, we look at our fleet, right? We have an engine, a rescue, and a service here. And then at this place, we have an engine and a rescue and a brush truck.
Right.
Okay. So now, for us in the borough, do we need a brush truck? And the answer is no. We have plenty around us that can handle any, we have the park or whatever, and that's about it. But so we look at it, and then what do we look at? Finances of that department, right? With the financial health of a department, which is important. The age of the fleet.
The age of the fleet of their vehicles and people running those vehicles.
Well, that's right. The age of the fleet and the membership
I consider
too.
that your fleet too. I mean, for sure.
But if you have a company that has trucks that are 30 years old, and then you have a company with trucks that are are newer or within 10 years or whatever, we could easily do it. I could look around all day long and not even just here. And I'm trying to watch these comments. And that's what I'm talking, teacher, that's what I'm talking about with the duplicated resources. We waste a ton of money on duplicated resources.
So much money.
Where money would be available to, whether it's one, now you've consolidated 2 or 3 departments and money's available to that whole, or money's available to, those departments individually for different things.
Right.
And one thing I'm going to tell you, and I think I've said this before, that drives me, the rescue tolls in this station drive me absolutely bonkers. And they're going away. I can't look at it any longer. But the one thing that drives me nuts is every station around here has a cascade system. How often do we use that thing? I can't go over to Southwest and fill air bottles on theirs.
Right.
Geez, I'll give Billy $20 for the electric it took to run the compressor. But when we were younger, we always go to number 2.
Right.
Jump in a truck, take the air bottles over number 2, and he'd meet us over there, and we could fill them, and we'd show him how to run his own stuff. But he would help us, right. but that is one there, and then Bill said about, and this is, I think that might be Billy. The My Kingdom goes beyond the fire department, and you're right, Billy. The leaders of the municipalities, the townships, the boroughs, the cities, whatever, they have to be involved in this now, and they have to listen to fire department personnel on what is we actually need.
Right.
Well, they like to think they know what we need. Do they? No, not all the time. Unless you have a full council of firemen or, members of the department is one thing, but
That's right.
they want. Okay, Bam. I knew he was the one that when I said that most people want to do it now, he's one of them. But they need to sit with us and hear us. Hey, this is what we need. This is what, what's going on in our department. And were we honest with them too, right?
That's right.
Are we going to our township and saying, hey, listen, half the time we're acknowledging but never moving, right? Are you aware of that? Or we're moving driver only, and I could use help from these people or these people. This company seems solid. Can we somehow get them to help us or whatever? So,
Kind of reverts back to looking yourself in the mirror. And it's real hard to look in the mirror.
The mirror, it's a tough place to look.
Good.
And we have to too. We have to look in our own mirror. We have to look at ourselves.
I think we do that.
We try.
Absolutely we try. And I think that you make strides where you can make strides, and it's real easy to get cocky. It's real easy to get cocky,
and we do it.
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely. But you take cocky over pride, right? What's the difference? I don't know. A little bit of stupidity, I guess. But you got to have that pride in the fire service too, because that's kind of lost. That's lost. I think it's tremendously and horrifically lost. Because how are you going to take pride in moving driver only? And it kills me because like we talked about. Now we're blessed to have guys 24/7 that can respond to calls. We have a couple of the, we'll say senior members here, and
they call them retirees.
Yeah. AR or crazy or whatever. But, those guys move the truck, and I'll tell you, those guys put in work too.
A lot,
right? And it doesn't take a mass man to put water on a fire. That's for sure. It just takes a little bit of stupidity to get a little close, And but it just all reverts back to is like, well, can they be doing more? Can those guys that don't necessarily have the traits or education that is required to go on the inside, why can't they be banging ladders? Why can't they be forcing doors? Why can't they be doing this, or why can't they be doing that? Those are simple tasks that you should be taught in house, and plus do that, it looks like who's teaching who in house, right?
Right.
And you look at that and go, well, that could be a little scary in its own fact.
So a teacher made a comment about responding with trained personnel. Yeah, we like to do that. We like to do that every day, all day. But it's tough today with the training, and I've noticed, and I'm trying to, we're trying to think of ways that we can get some of our people to, do some other training other than what we do here in house, and then we'll put on a few classes here at the station, that are certification classes, during the year. It's tough, and that just goes back to the recruiting retention thing. It's tough to get people to commit that kind of time to certain things.
Absolutely.
Plus, too, you're only looking at one half of it. education, I've said it a million times. There's only one thing that'll beat an education, and that's an experienced guy with education, right? That continues his education constantly. Right? Always looking for ways to improve. Not that, oh, I know how to do this, I know how to do that, so I don't need to rehash that in the class. Just get over yourself. I mean, I can take the same class 4 times and learn something new every time. I mean, that's insane, right? And then, so you get the new guy who comes in, hard charging, firefighter 1. Well, to me, he's no better than the person that has no education, right? Because he doesn't have the experience. He doesn't know when that's bad, right? Like something's gone bad, or he might have the education, but he doesn't have the real life kaleidoscope in his brain to click through to go, oh, I've seen this before, and I know it's a bad situation, or I know this is the easiest way to do it, or and it depends on who's teaching that, who their teacher was, to what they know, and what level they know as well. And that all reverts back to your manpower. So, like, if you want to just to bring it back to the consolidation, you could have 10 people that are unexperienced and no one experienced there to kind of guide them in a way. And that's really what our chief officers and our engine bosses are supposed to be doing anyway, right? Those are the guys that are
back to the engine boss.
Yeah, got the engine out there. But those are the guys that are supposed to be grabbing you by the collar. Let's go do it. Let's do it this way. This is how I've done in the past, and this is how it worked out for me.
So fitting that back into the merger part, that stuff. You may have where we have, say of our 7 guys, 4 are qualified. Okay, qualified to do what is the question?
Right.
Is it the fire stuff? Is it the rescue stuff? Or do we have a mix of that stuff? I think we have a mix of that. Fire. I mean, Corey's more a rescue guy. I mean, he's still a masked man and fights fire, but he's more of medical and rescue type than me or whoever. But you get that mix now. So then you have this company over here that has 2 guys, right? And they're qualified masked men, qualified rescue personnel to do what we need to do. And they're kind of just by themselves. And, if you only have 2 or 3 guys, they may not all be there at the same time too. We don't have 7 guys, is all we're saying. We have like 12 people that respond on a regular basis, but at different times of the day. Where he's good in the evening and I'm good during the day, whatever. It averages out to be about 7 people each time we go out the door. And we're only a few years away from that being 5 people or 4 people or 3.
I hear that, and then I look at us and our small department. Like at prime time, at most maybe 4 guys, 5 guys a day.
I don't know if I'm missing stuff here.
So it's definitely a blessing for you to have that kind of manpower. But you're right. Eventually, if something doesn't get done, those numbers are going to start dwindling down.
Well, that's it too. I mean, I hear departments boasted we got 30 members.
Sean, we just like to make fun of you. It's not just about that one thing. It's everything.
Your love for ladders.
Yeah, your love for ladders. Jim Jellison, I think that's how you say his last name. He's from 114. Regionalization, combined not only equipment and personnel, also tax-based fundraising. 3 municipalities combined can do staff of 3 engines. There's a feasibility designing an academy. And you're right, working together, and that's what I mean, working together for everything. I don't care if it's just going on calls or training or whatever it is.
It has to be.
And why, we have to sometimes, and this is going to be a touchy one for not the fire department people, I don't think, but municipal leaders, borough leaders, whatever. Erasing boundaries when it comes to public safety. Okay, so we get on here at the bottom of the hill and we cross over into a township, right? But for some reason, and we're guilty of it too, and I'm trying to do better because I've listened to myself, watch these videos, and we have to practice what we preach, right?
Try to.
We have to. So I reached out to a couple local departments about having just a sit-down training in here reviewing SCBA's. And they were receptive to it. Now, why didn't that happen before? Because my own head was in my way, maybe theirs was.
Right.
And I want to say this so everybody understands me. Because I get that, you know how I am.
I know how you. I don't know if they know how you are, but
Most people do. And I can't use the language on here as how to describe me at most times and what people say that I am. And it's probably true the most of the time. But don't misinterpret that for passion and love for this thing. I want to work with our neighbors. I think just in the past couple of years, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, just our relationship with Southwest Greensburg has changed tremendously. The city of Greensburg. And I have to get, we have to branch beyond that because we not only respond to those municipalities, but those ones, we don't have to sit at the table at Thanksgiving dinner and break bread every
Right.
meal or whatever. But we have to be able to find some way to just get along for these things. Whatever emergencies or whatever. And if we don't train with each other, we do things one way, they do things one way. Our way's not always right, their way's not always right. But a combination of that together in one whole thing would make things a lot smoother.
it goes to show you too,
And understand each other better.
understand each other in the process of thinking, because your critical thinking might be different from our critical thinking versus, you got 5 line officers here, and each of them have different critical thinking processes, and it's and you'd have 5 different scenarios. That at the end of the day, if you had those 5 guys that knew what they're doing, you had confidence in know what they're doing. What is the leadership doing? What's the saying over there?
Is Kimmy cooking my wife?
Oh.
Billy wants to know if she's cooking Thanksgiving dinner for everybody.
As long as there's
Billy,
some tough stuff in.
She can't even cook, first of all, so we'll just start right there. And hopefully she's not watching, but it's not good. We may be responding to an emergency there.
Kitchen environment.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought there.
It happens.
But on that, how many times have you guys seen the Department A get on scene and Department B get on scene? They both want to do things their own way, and next thing you know, there's an argument. People go against each other. But like you said,
I'm guilty of that.
If you would train and work together and become one, I think a lot of things would just go more smoothly.
Yeah, talk. You can talk while I'm standing here.
But it just all boils down to, coming together and working together to help each other out.
Right. And it's just, I'll bring up a case in point, and it just happened where one department was running a different thread than what we were running, right? And it's real quick to blame the department that was running the opposite thread, but that falls on us too. We should have known. And that wasn't a bridge that we gapped. And we're lucky enough to where it was in a situation where you just have a white hat down there dancing, wanting a resource, but that was our fault too.
Yes.
We got to take accountability for that as well. It's not just that department's problem; it was our problem.
Yeah.
We should have known.
Yeah.
And not only should they know, but we should have known. And to say that one person's at fault for this or at fault for that, I mean, that's insane, right? And that's the little things that could have been easily accomplished by, hey, let's go over your truck.
Well, that's another big thing too. Is people don't want to take accountability for not only their actions but their department or whatever. They're quick to point the finger or something like that, but they can't accept that they did something wrong or could have done something different or.
But that comes
Things like
back. I think that comes back to the ego or the pride, I guess. Right. The way we do it is the right way and the only way. And to me, that's crazy.
I'll go back to that, what you were just talking about there with that. And I'm going to take the blame for that. And here's why. When I arrived there, I should have stayed in the street. There were some younger members out on the road, and I should have did chief stuff instead of coming down there and trying to get involved in the fire and doing that. I should have, you know, I thought what it was just to get 3-inch up the driveway and get us water. You think that that's simple, but sometimes it's not. And it takes a minute to figure it out. It took them a minute to figure it out. And of course, I'm jumping up and down, screaming. And what it was we had a hold on that, and it was just, I thought it was as simple as water. But yeah, we should have known.
We should have.
That wasn't going to work.
That's a blame on me. That's a blame on everybody else that was there.
Right.
Right. And you got to look at that. Like, why didn't I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were running a different thread. I should have known that. It's a mutual aid company, right? I should have known that for sure. And I like to consider myself an educated guy and like to know what's going on around the place. And I didn't know that. That to me, that's a ding on me. And if you're not looking at it as a ding on you, and the fact that we come back and beat the crap out of our own bodies, right? Or come back and beat the crap out of our own decisions, at least. And if you're not doing that, there's a problem. I've never once come back from a fire and go, wow, I nailed it. 100% wouldn't change nothing. I just freaking killed it. I killed it as a fireman. I killed it as an officer. I killed it. If you're saying that when you get back, you need to look in the mirror hard. It's just.
You don't have to yell, there's a microphone.
Yeah. Well, I'm not yelling. This is how I talk. Talk in all caps.
Sean, yeah, I know you were yelling, I'm coming, Matt White. I heard, and we have everybody say my full name. The mayor started that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I see you tried to bait me there a little bit too with the thing. And I just said it was my fault. I take blame for it. It was my fault. But you are right. We always think that our way is the only way. And everybody thinks that, right? At a time or another. I don't care who you are. We go, well, this is my way and that's the way it's going to be. And then if you really want to change something, you sit and, even if you say it now, well, this is going to be my way, that's the way it is. You might sit later and go, well, maybe I'm not 100% right.
Right. Well, that just goes back to the whole, what we're talking about today, the kingdom and the consolidation. When you not necessarily talk about consolidation and the fact that, you have to give up your station, but why is station 1, 2, 3, and 4 all got to have an engine, a rescue, and a brush truck?
Right.
Why does station 5, 6, 7, and 8 all got to have a ladder truck? Why does station 9, 10, 11, 12 all got to have a rescue boat, a dive team, and a bloodhound team?
So you're saying we shouldn't buy a tiller?
No, yeah, we can buy that. But yeah, we'll get Sean T-shirt down here, drive the tractor. I'll just till it all day. It'll be good. But this is what I think. This is what you gear towards too, is like consolidation. And I understand what having an engine is an engine and a rescue is a rescue, but how many rescues do you need as a rescue?
Right.
And how many engines do you need as an engine? Right. And I think with modern technology now, right, all engines should be rescue pumpers.
Right.
Right. We're not going to call them that because that's just silly calling them rescue pumper. But
no, we'll see.
But
he was just kidding.
A little.
Allegedly.
But I'm just saying, like, you're an all-purpose department, right? Every department in the county should be an all-purpose department, right? And that's, again, take pride in your job. You should be able to go to any 911 call, right? Anybody call for service and go, I can make this situation better.
So in reality, though, we're talking about, we horse around about it, dude. We're not getting a ladder truck.
No.
Okay, and no, Jared. But we have a ladder truck right over here.
Multiple.
We have a ladder truck up on the hill.
Yep. Right.
We got a ladder truck over in the city, right? If we buy a ladder truck, we're just fools. What did they don't have that we should have, right? And is that part of the first part of the merger thing? And like I said, Billy and I sat and talked about this, and Bam's discussed it with him, just Southwest in general. I don't want to keep using those two departments, but I don't want to get into any other ones that are, without hurting too many feelings. But so is it just that now as we move towards the future, do you just need a ladder truck? in a squad or in a
One
squad.
more.
Now we got to be careful how we define squad because and I'm not going to get. I'm going to get Bill Wright started on this, so I'm going to let it go. But
Well, I think
shots fired.
Yeah.
That was you
No.
with the rescue pumper.
I think that would be, one of the beginning phases when it comes to consolidating and is merging is the departments, that are looking in to do it, talk about doing it, need to come together, look at their areas, their communities, and see what they have a need for. You mostly,
Every day,
residential,
Fogel, every day.
commercial or whatever, and then go from there on deciding the type of equipment you need and specialized training or whatever, and move on from that.
Right, but a lot of these times you get departments that can operate with equipment, right? You have the ladder, you have the engine, you have the rescue,
All in
you have
one, right?
QRS. You can do all that with equipment,
Right.
right?
Right, yeah.
And then and it goes back to the redundancy, right? So now you got whatever you want to call it, a service, a squad, a people mover. Let's just call a people mover, right? If you fill up your first truck or the truck goes out and you need to move people to the scene, you got a people mover, whether that be an SUV, an OFI, whatever it is, you got something to move people to the call. And I think even here, we're guilty of it. Does our borough really justify 2 engines? Probably not, right? But that's what we'll have, even with the new truck coming in, and our rescue will be just as much of an engine as a rescue. And so you got to have these double trucks. So but then you think, well, what if one breaks down? What's your area there? What's your situation there then, right? So you have redundancies in that aspect, but you can always reach out.
But don't we we still have our people mover, right? We're still bringing our people.
Right.
Why can't we rely on engine 8 to get here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we do.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, we're down a truck right now. It's out getting some work done to it. Our old LaFrance is still kicking along.
Still pumping good.
We've had that Detroit out powering across the county for right, and that's right, Sean. That's what we're saying. So say we have one pumper. Well, there's a pumper down the street. Now, if we've come together too, now we've acquired another pumper.
Right.
The argument is, do we take the LaFrance and put it in a garage down there, and that's our reserve pumper? Does a borough this size need a reserve pumper? No.
You'd love to keep it, right?
Well, we'd like to keep it because it's just a masterpiece,
Yeah.
that truck.
But it's you look about it here and go well, at what point do you want to reduce these numbers down, right? And that's a problem too. Is at what point? So let's just say, for argument's sake, here where we're at. Say if South River, Southwest, 24 or 32, 24, 23, and 28 all combined to make a single department, right? So out of all them out of 4 departments, we'd have what?
It does.
5, 6, 7 engines. That'd be what? 2, 3, 4, 5 engines, 2 ladder trucks, a bunch of services, a brush.
That's a whole city department, right?
Whew, that's a lot of.
That's a whole big city department.
That's a whole lot of
Mid-sized city.
apparatus. And then you'd have the people to move it too, right? You'd have 4 departments worth of people to move those apparatus. Right. And then you think about it, say our daylight struggles here. And say Southwest daylights don't struggle. And let's say Carbon's weekday nights don't struggle. Midway's weekend nights don't struggle. Right? You combine that into one resource, one mega resource, and say it. Now, that's not saying we have to lose 24, 32, 23, and 28. You can still maintain your, if that's the problem, you can still maintain that. But at what point do we stop, start reducing our resources because of who's around us? But then you take into account then who's coming with that resource, right? So that's where you run into the problem too. And I think it just starts with training together and stop putting this, your ego and your pride aside. And we're guilty of it, and I'm sure other people are guilty of it. But you need to put that aside and go just got to put it aside. It's just frustrating to see when people get mad, like, why are you getting mad about certain things?
Right.
You getting mad at your neighbor for having more people that can move trucks quicker?
Right.
Or getting to your scene, getting to the scene quicker? What are you mad about?
So, Sam Bray, I don't know the answer to that question, but there's a thing that our municipal leaders have to find out and be involved in. He's asking, how does the ISO work if municipal boundaries are eliminated? I don't know the answer.
The ISO, your ISO would still be maintained. You wouldn't just, because it would be a paid protection. So like your ISO, let's just say, for instance, we took over Southwest area, or Southwest took over our area, right? The ISO for the borough of South Greensburg wouldn't change because you still have that protection provided from Southwest. It's just a paid different protection. Like we're the paid protection for South Greensburg, where they're the paid protection for Southwest Greensburg. And really, let's talk about ISO if you want to talk about ISO, because I think it's a joke. It's a pride thing, right? You want to pridefully put that I'm an ISO class 1. I'm a pridefully ISO class 2. You don't see no one putting ISO class 7 on their door.
Okay. And I don't know the right answer, and I've been told this about the ISO ratings. At some point, you can only get so good of an ISO rating, and just for your own ego, if you want to put ISO class 1 on your truck, that's your problem. But you're a 2, 3, 4. I don't think it makes a ton of a difference for your residents.
1 to 6 doesn't change.
And Sean, listen, that was a secret about the 75-foot ladder being mounted on that truck, and it is not a snorkel. It's just a straight stick. Municipal boundaries versus proximity for establishing first dues is jet fuel for the ego issues. And I know that. Okay, let's just we can't sit here much longer, because if you don't know, volunteer firemen aren't the brightest people in the world.
Really?
Okay, and their attention span is probably way past what we've already done here. So I've already lost you guys.
Squirrel.
But yeah, squirrel. But Jesus, I don't even know what I was talking about. Oh, there's been mergers in this area, right? There's been companies. And I guess Hofstadter was one of the first ones that went with Whitney, and now Whitney is in with Youngstown, right? They did it. It worked, and I know Dave Smith. He's always has a lot to say about this. They did it. It happened. I don't know how they did it. I don't know what I got to put that back on because
Yes, too bright.
They did it. They made it happen, and I don't know how they did it, but there's probably some people there that we could talk to about that have been involved in it, right?
Right. Why would you want to learn something new when it's already been learned?
The Luxor station closed. I don't know what the deal was there, how that went down. I know that it happened, and whatever happened with all that there, but people have done it.
Yeah, it's not a new concept.
And we have to make it easier.
I mean, just recently, didn't they do that with who was that, Arnold? 2 stations they did that with.
I think so. Yeah. I'll say they did something there. Why? We're the fire service. We're quick to forget about other people's mistakes instead of learning from them. It's
Right.
insane to me.
Right. And with this whole thing of consolidation of mergers, at the end of the day, if anything, a conversation just needs to happen. We just need to come together and at least throw out ideas and get a general direction you want to go for the better. Because like I said before, with this whole concept, it's not going to hurt anything. If anything, it's going to do better for your departments, whatever you want to do, and your community. But it just needs to happen.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more realistic in saying it's never going to happen.
Oh, I'll agree with you on that.
And I don't think it's going to happen on the scale that it needs to happen on, right? Because the problem we're having now, it's not the problem. It's just not 2020. COVID didn't just make this happen. This has been 30 years, 40 years, as long as I can remember.
Right.
Right? And It should have happened then. To me, it's just crazy.
It'll probably eventually get to the point to where everything and everyone's going down, and there's no other option left, and then you're almost going to be forced to.
I think in 10 years you won't see a difference. You might see a couple of department maybe.
I would hope so, because as we sit here and I think about 10 years from now, so we'll be talking about replacing our 08 at some point. You know, is that really going to happen? Are we going to need to do that? Or are we not going to be here? Or are we going to be here with other equipment here? Or what? I think about that, and I know I've talked to other departments about, you know, that are at the point where, do we refurbish our truck, put the money in to refurbish it? Or are we going to be here long enough to
use it
to even justify purchasing that, you know, $1 million piece of equipment or whatnot? Are we going to be together with somebody else? Is it really going to happen?
And more places need to look at it that way.
This, Bill, and I knew I'd stir you up with the squad comment and that, and maybe that's another show. And we'll get ready to wrap this thing up here. And I know we probably could have went deeper into this merger thing, and I apologize, but we get sidetracked easily because we are volunteer firemen. But the thing is the naming of our truck, what we call our apparatus.
I think
You know, do we call it? And people do it differently because they want to do it. And I'm not saying one way is right or one way is wrong, but and Bill made the point to me one day that, hey, if I call for, you know, if someone says their squad's coming,
what does that mean?
now that means a couple different things
Right.
in different places.
Right. Talk to Jeanette. What's a squad?
Right, we're getting a
Versus-
fully
Yeah.
equipped pumper, rescue,
Right, yeah.
EMS, all this whole thing in one ball of wax, right?
Yeah.
And then if I get a squad out of 24, I get a Yukon Denali.
People moving.
Right, and it's a people mover. So is that something, I don't know who gets into that, but, you know, that's a whole nother thing. I'm not allowed to have a tanker ladder rescue squad. We wanted to have a quiller, but I don't think that's
Why
going to
aren't you
fit.
saying no to that?
Yeah, no quiller here. But that's important too, right? But that's another matter.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it were up to me, I think our new engine should be called a wagon.
His blood pressure just went straight up, straight
I'm saying
up.
a wagon.
Do one better, do a rescue wagon.
Rescue wagon.
Well, that's Jared's terminology. He loves that rescue wagon
But
thing.
it just goes to show you too, like, what do you mean when you say an engine or a rescue? You know, what we consider a rescue, when our rescue comes back to being refurbished, it's going to be a heavy rescue.
It
It's going to
will,
have
it will have what's required according to the paperwork to be a heavy rescue, correct?
the paperwork set forth by people that probably don't know what a heavy rescue really is. You know, and but you're going to call it a heavy rescue? No, you're just going to call it a rescue. Well, then you might have a department where it's smaller. They don't have the resources that we do, luckily. And they can have a pickup truck with some 32Bs and a hydraulic pump that's been refurbished a couple times since 1984, you know? And that's what they call their rescue. You know, there has to be some standard. And there's definitely states that require you to do that with your types, type 1, type 2, type 3.
Sorry, Sean, I didn't realize it.
Yeah, that's a touchy
Did I
subject.
say Denali? It's an SLT, it's not a Denali.
It's got power
They
windows.
said Sean said they don't have 32 money over there.
No.
We're broke. We're struggling. I got wires everywhere here. If I had a real studio, we could do this better. But so on the merger thing, and we'll get ready to wrap this up. And it's easy to run through an hour of this.
It is.
And we could probably sit here for 3 more.
We do.
But yeah, we spend a lot of time talking, but we're sitting here talking about nothing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we talk about nothing when we sit around here and discuss it, right? If we're sitting on our own firehouse, talking with our own people,
Right.
and we all have ideas, why aren't we talking to these other people?
Well, I think that's the whole spectrum. The whole idea of this is to bring the kitchen table to everybody.
But it includes the leaders. It includes the elected officials, right?
Right.
It's got to include councils and
Yeah.
supervisors and whatever you have in your town, however
Everybody
you work.
needs on the same page.
Everybody's got to sit there, and there's going to be arguing. Someone's going to throw a pen, walk out the door.
Yeah, get high voiced.
Yeah, someone's going to high voice me.
Yeah.
That just happened the other day in here. The mayor high voiced me. But you know, we have to somehow get everybody here, there, wherever, and get down and,
What's he doing down there?
yeah, so, the problem with that is, and that's been the conversation, the Knights In station, and the mayor would love nothing more than that be a fire station than what it is. But that's a whole nother matter for another day. But we have to get everybody involved. Everybody has to be at the same table because we can't do change without them. I don't think they can understand the change without us there at the table, right? Because they don't know, and well, they're the elected officials. They don't understand. I don't think they understand everything that goes on in the fire department, right? Unless they're actually a member of the fire department, but which is the case in some places. But listen to your people. Listen to your your firefighters, their officers, and not just because I am friends with the mayor and go to his house. Don't listen to me. Listen to what the guys and girls all have to say at the fire station. And maybe it starts with you meeting with your municipality first and saying, hey, we need to bring these people in and talk to them because we need them.
Well, again, it just reverts back to having a good look in the mirror and saying, hey, we have a problem, we need to fix it, we need to address it.
And one more thing I'm going to say about this, and I'll bring it to home, is when the day comes, when this department starts scratching, I am going to call someone, whoever it is, whether it's Billy or Jordy or whoever, and say, hey, I need you to be responding to my alarms because we are in dire straits until we can figure out a permanent solution. And that doesn't happen.
No.
Now, we're not in that situation, and I'm telling you, I will do it right away. If it would start happening on a regular basis, I will make the call to whoever to make sure that this borough is protected. And with our relationship with, our elected officials and that, it's easy for me to do. And I don't have no problem going in there and saying, hey, we're struggling.
What a bad situation.
We need help from the outside to help this borough as far as public safety goes. I would have no problem making that phone call to, any council member that we have or mayor or whoever. I would have no problem making that call and saying, hey, we need help. We have to go outside of our municipality to get fire service in this borough because we are struggling. So I hope you took something out of this. Yeah, and we've had that conversation, Sam, about just forcing people to the table, and we just have to be, you know how it is with politics. It has to be done carefully. Danny, you have anything else?
No, I think, like I said, I just think more people need to come together and have this conversation and talk about where the future is going.
Randall?
To quote a very, very, very
This is coming from Backdraft, I can guarantee.
intelligent assistant chief, keep on keeping on.
Yeah, that's right. He's sitting over there dusting ski.
I mean, it's
Whatever
just,
we call him.
for the guys doing it right, keep on doing it, man. You're doing it right. It's just, you need to start spreading that love, right? You can't just be the guys doing it right, or you think you're doing it right, or maybe doing it better than the next guy. The conversation needs to happen with your neighbor.
Jerry, I was aware that you had mentioned that before, and I talked to some others about that. Unity Township had started some of this dialogue with their leaders, and sat down with their leaders and actually spoke to them with it. And again, but so that's where it probably starts in your own home, and then but has to branch out in places because, you go up about. You go up against boundaries, right? I mean, we border Enfield Township and the city of Greensburg all the way around.
See, I look at it as they border us.
Well, whatever, whichever. But we're out of our border very quick.
Oh, absolutely.
Whichever direction we go, we're out of our border very fast. And this border's here. There's a station here, and here. That's where it has to, begin. When we go start erasing those lines, and we have to begin there. So, I guess hell, we'll probably do this again. I don't see why not until people run us right off of here. I would hope so, Sam. I know, speaking for South Greensburg personally, our mayor's right here in the room with us. So he's aware of what goes on. And frankly, he's involved in about everything we do down here. And we report to our council liaison. And frankly, if I had to have a conversation with them, I could have it probably at any time.
We're lucky
And
too.
they're well aware of what we're doing down here. I don't think there's any secrets about how we do things or we keep them. I've opened an invitation to them to come to the station. Some of them have, some of them, they just know that we're going on, and they, we're so small town that when the fire whistle blows, they hear that cue going down the street, they figure all's well. And right now it kind of is well. I mean, it's not great. It could be way better, and we're looking to improve, right? We're always looking to go forward. But I hope other municipal leaders are watching, and anytime anybody's ready for us in our area, we're ready to sit at that table and have that discussion. And it'll be different discussions than we have on the fire ground for sure, because usually those are heated discussions because, well, they're not all ego, but they're heated discussions because of the situation that we're in. You have something going on, and I do it. I'm guilty of it all the time. Hey, what the hell's going on? Why are we doing this way? Look what happened here. You know what I mean? But we can have better, more educated discussions sitting in a room, not under duress. So that's that. All right. Hey, thank you everybody for commenting, for watching. The videos will be posted here and on YouTube under Nothing Showing. And we will see you again in the future. Thank you.